The government's changed to capital gains tax.
Capital gains tax.
Tax changes
to the capital gains tax.
But does the description of New Zealand as a possible tax haven stand up to any scrutiny?
Australia has proposed some major changes to the capital gains tax regime, and many Australians are considering their options. After all, Australia taxes capital gains on almost every investment assets: shares, investment properties, business assets, crypto, even collectibles in some situations. New Zealand, on the other hand, famously doesn't have a general capital gains tax. So on paper, it almost sounds too good to be true. Move to Queenstown, enjoy the scenery, and leave the taxman behind. Except, there are at least 3 catches that most people have never heard about. So with these proposed tax changes, many Aussies have started asking the same question: should I just move to New Zealand? Well, the answer is a lot more complicated than the headlines might have you believe. It's true that New Zealand doesn't have a general capital gains tax, but that doesn't mean your investments are automatically tax-free. Depending on what you own, moving to New Zealand could save you a fortune, or make almost no difference at all. So in this video, we're going to separate fact from fiction. We'll look at what actually happens when you leave Australia, how New Zealand taxes different types of investments compared to Australia, and ultimately answer the question: should Australians move to New Zealand to avoid capital gains tax? Let's start with the first catch, and it's the biggest one that will be your first hurdle. Just because you pack your bags and move to New Zealand doesn't mean the Australian Tax Office simply waves goodbye and forgets about you. Australia taxes residents on their worldwide income, and New Zealand is no different. So if you want to stop paying Australian tax, you genuinely need to sever your Australian tax residency. Usually, this means significantly cutting your economic and social ties to Australia, as well as establishing a permanent home overseas. That sounds straightforward enough, but there's more to it. When you cease your Australian tax residency, Australia has what's commonly referred to as an exit tax. In other words, you could end up paying tax without selling a single share. That's because the tax law pretends you've sold the asset, even if you still own it. The ATO treats certain assets as if you dispose of them at the market value once you left the country. That might include shares, ETFs, and crypto. Australian real estate is generally treated differently because Australia continues to tax gains on Australian property even after you've become a foreign tax resident. The United States has a similar concept known as the Saverin tax. Facebook's co-founder, Eduardo Saverin, renounced his US citizenship and in the process avoided an 8-figure CGT bill. So like the United States, Australia has its own version designed to stop people simply moving overseas to avoid the tax. So if you don't structure your assets properly, and depending on the type of assets they are, moving overseas can itself become a taxable event. There are a few exceptions, and different rules apply per asset, so not everyone gets hit in exactly the same way. But the key point is this: moving to New Zealand is not a quick fix to reducing your tax bill. So if you're seriously considering moving to New Zealand to save tax, understanding what happens when you cease your Australian tax residency is probably the most important step in the entire process. Get it right and moving might reduce your long-term tax bill. Get it wrong and you could end up paying Australian tax before you've even had your first decent pie in New Zealand. So let's assume you've successfully made it past that first hurdle. This brings us onto catch number 2. Now, New Zealand doesn't have a general capital gains tax, but that doesn't mean every capital gain is tax-free. This is something the Australian media has got wrong in recent weeks, so I'd like to set the record straight. In Australia, the ATO asks the question: did you make a capital gain? In New Zealand, the question is predominantly around: why did you purchase the asset in the first place? It might sound like a minor difference, but it makes a huge impact on how you're taxed on capital gains in New Zealand. Let's take residential property for example. New Zealand has something called the Bright Line Test. Under the current rules, if you sell a residential property within 2 years of buying it, any profit may be taxable unless an exclusion applies. The main home is generally excluded, and so are things like the business premises and farmland. But for investment property, this is one of the big traps. And even outside the bright line period, property profits can still be taxable if you bought with the intention of selling, have a regular pattern of buying and selling, or you're in the business of property dealing, development, or building. So while New Zealand doesn't have a blanket capital gains tax, property profits aren't always exempt. Stocks are another interesting example. For most everyday investors who buy shares or ETFs as long-term investments, New Zealand generally doesn't tax capital gains when those investments are eventually sold. So you can buy at $100, sell a year later for $120, $120 for a tax-free $20 gain. This is one of the biggest differences compared with Australia, and it's the one the media will consistently talk about. But of course, there are exceptions here as well. If you're effectively running a business of trading shares, buying and selling frequently with the intention of making short-term profits, the IRD may deem you a trader and treat those gains as taxable income instead. Again, the focus isn't whether you made a gain, it's about your intention. Then we have a big one. Overseas investments. Many Australians assume that they'll move to New Zealand and never pay tax on foreign shares again. Kiwis will already know where I'm going with this one, so I hate to burst your bubble. New Zealand has something called the Foreign Investment Fund, or FIF regime. Once your overseas investments exceed a threshold, currently 50,000 New Zealand dollars, increasing to 100,000 later in the year, you may have to pay tax each year, even if you haven't sold anything, and even if your portfolio hasn't produced income. It's a completely different system to Australia's capital gains tax, but it can still have a huge tax implication that catches new migrants by surprise. So while New Zealand is certainly more favourable than Australia in many situations, it isn't accurate to say New Zealand simply doesn't tax investments. Instead, it taxes them differently, and that's an important distinction to make. Depending on the investment assets you own, the tax advantage of coming to New Zealand may differ widely. And that brings us to catch number 3. Even once you understand Australia's exit tax rules and that New Zealand still taxes some capital gains, just in a different way, there is one final mistake that people make. They assume that New Zealand is automatically better. But that is not always true. The real answer depends almost entirely on what you own. Let's take property first. If you are an Australian investor who owns property in Australia, moving to New Zealand may not solve much. This is because Australia can generally still tax Australian real estate even after you become a foreign resident. That means rental income from an Australian investment property may still be taxable in Australia. And if you later sell, the capital gain may still fall within the Australian tax net. So if most of your wealth is tied up in Australian property, New Zealand's lack of a general CGT may not help as much as you think. Now let's look at shares. If you mainly own Australian or New Zealand shares as a long-term investor, New Zealand can look attractive because long-term capital gains on those shares may not be taxed. But foreign shares and global ETFs are where the comparison gets a lot more complicated. In Australia, you generally pay tax on dividends as they come in, and capital gains tax when you eventually sell. In New Zealand, once your foreign share portfolio is large enough, the FIF rules can tax you every year on a deemed return, even if you didn't sell anything or receive a dividend. So for an Aussie with a large global portfolio, you might not actually be better off in New Zealand. In some cases, you might prefer Australia's system, where tax is often delayed until sale, so if property and shares were marginal, crypto is a whole different ballgame. Australia has a relatively clear framework. In most cases, cryptocurrency is treated as a CGT asset. If you buy Bitcoin for $10,000 and later sell it for $50,000, you've generally made a capital gain and the normal CGT rules apply. New Zealand approaches it very differently. Earlier, we made the distinction of the ATO, asking whether you made a gain, and the IRD in New Zealand asking about your intention when it was acquired. Nowhere is that more evident than crypto. If your purpose was to sell or exchange it for a profit, these capital gains will generally be taxed as income. Isn't that crazy? Crypto capital gains are taxed at your marginal income tax rate. So this question around intention makes the whole thing much more subjective in New Zealand than Australia. At the start of the video, the question was, should I move to New Zealand to avoid CGT? Now, the better question you should ask is, which country gives a better outcome for my specific assets? Because a property investor, a share investor, a crypto investor, and someone with global stocks or ETFs could all get completely different answers. That is why the whole just move to New Zealand and avoid CGT idea is too simplistic. New Zealand may still be better for some people, and Australia may still be better for others. So before anyone packs their bags for Queenstown purely for tax reasons, this is one of those areas where getting proper cross-border tax advice is absolutely essential. This video is purely for entertainment purposes only, and before taking any actions, you should always consult with a legal or accounting professional. When it comes to tax residency and investment decisions, always make sure you consult with someone who understands your personal situation. There's another layer we haven't covered today. New migrants to New Zealand may qualify for transitional resident tax concessions for a limited period, which could have a big impact in the earlier years. That's one of the reasons professional cross-border tax advice is so important before making any decisions. Were you surprised by this video? Let me know down below in the comments. If you found it useful, please make sure to subscribe and hit the like button. I've made over 300 videos helping Kiwis and Aussies save, invest, and buy their first home, so follow along to not miss a future upload. Beyond that, I post reels and stories talking about everyday finance in New Zealand over on Instagram. You can find me at Brent Coleman Investing. If you want to know who's richer, Kiwis or Aussies, I made a fantastic couple of videos over here that answer that question. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to catching you on the next one. Cheers.